It's probably the worst environmental bill of the session. It will be damaging to folks who care about a number of other issues as well. This bill has two major stories with it. One is that it's a grab bag of special interest provisions, and we can talk about some of those. Many of them were never discussed substantively in either the North Carolina House or the Senate, and a number of them hadn't appeared in the bill until just before the final version was voted on the House floor. The other major story about the bill is that it has a fairly arcane provision buried in it that changes the way North Carolina handles our existing rules, not just environmental rules, all rules that protect public health, safety, that manage how programs are implemented, and requires them to be reviewed at least once every 10 years, even if they're working perfectly fine. And that it provides no extra resources for the agencies to do that, but that's going to wrap up our state agencies in red tape and make it harder for them to protect public health and the environment. It also includes a provision that says many of those rules, if they're not reviewed on this fairly tight schedule, expire automatically.
So it's you mentioned it's the worst environmental bill of the session. It's the worst environmental bill maybe in a generation, it sounds like.
That could be. It's got, I mean, a number of the provisions, a number of the special interest provisions are bad, but they're not horrific. But they are bad. There are provisions, for example, one that Duke Energy had wanted. It may apply to other industrial waste disposers as well, that changes the way we regulate contamination from waste disposal facilities, industrial waste disposal facilities. It's really aimed at coal ash ponds. We have a number of those around the state in association with coal-fired power plants. The ash is highly toxic, and a lot of these ponds were built before there were any kind of requirements for liners. So the toxic leachate has gone into the groundwater. And until now, the rule has been that there are fairly tight boundaries, monitoring compliance boundaries around these facilities. And if the contamination crossed one of the boundaries, which it has around several of the facilities, the owner, in this case Duke Energy, be required to stop the contamination and clean it up. What the change in House Bill 74 does is shift the default to the property boundary. It could still be, if state regulators require that it be tighter, it could still be tighter, but the default is now the property boundary. And that essentially lets a polluter drive down the neighbor's property values because the contamination goes across the property boundary, wrecks their property value. They acquire it, and they can just let the contamination continue to expand without cleaning it up. So that's one of the provisions.